Namaskar. The final and controlling principle of all the principle of Jama and Niyama is called Ishvara Pranidhana. Ishvara means supreme entity, the controller of this universe, the consciousness that rules over, the consciousness that manages the entire cosmological order. And Pranidhana means to establish yourself in, to take shelter in. So Ishvara Pranidhana is the practice, is the sadhana of establishing in the supreme entity. What is a shelter? We have so many external shelters. Shelter is something that gives us safety, gives us protection, and it provides pleasure. It provides happiness. So we take shelter in so many objects. We stay on so many pillars. We use so many bases from the external world. They make us happy. We take shelter in health, in knowledge, in money, in relatives, in friends, in our jobs, and so on and so on and so on and so on. There are so many external pillars, so many external shelters that provides the feeling of safety and that provides feeling of happiness. But all of those shelters are of temporary nature. It means that anytime something comes in my life and something may go. Actually, it happens all the time. Something comes, something goes. So if I get attached to those things, pain is a definite outcome. When I get attached to something, then I will necessarily experience pain sooner or later. Because when you lose the object of the attachment, the result is inner emptiness, inner suffering. So either the life from time to time takes something away from us and we will have to adjust and find different ways to motivate ourselves, find different ways to be happy. Or we consciously, willingly trying to get rid of those dependencies through the practice of meditation. So I'm staying on so many pillars. Someone will ask me, are you happy? I will say, yes, I'm happy. But are you really happy? If I take away one pillar from you, will you still remain happy? If I take another one, if I take the third one, now you have no money, now you have no job, now you have no friends, are you still happy? If you are a yogi, yes, you are still happy. You have not been shaken. You remained strong. You were not broken. So how to achieve that stability of the mind? The most stable base, something of unshakable nature, something indestructible, is within. There is a consciousness within. It is a perennial source of joy. It is the perennial source of, you feel sheltered in it, you feel safe in it, you feel there is a flow that carries you. Through so many troubles and tribulations, it carries you forward, protects you, develops you. So if you establish connection with that flow, if you establish connection with that consciousness, then you are free. Nothing can ever threaten you. You can go anywhere as a free man. You can live as a free man. You have no fear. You have no dependencies. So how? I'm so dependent. How to become independent? How to become from outside dependencies? How to become dependent only on your innermost self? That change of the pillars, that moving from those external bases to the internal base, is called Ishvara Pranidhana. And that is the practice. You cannot become spiritual just by reading a book. Maybe you can become moral, but moral also you need to practice. Before practicing morality, you cannot become moral. You can read the books, you can accept the principles. Like there was one story one man, he said, I don't know why should I meditate. I don't see the reason. I have been living honest life. I have not harmed anybody. I always helped people. I think this is enough. I am spiritual man. And then someone told this story to our master, and our master, he used to have a lot of spiritual powers, so he could close his eyes and he could see the situation of that person. So he closed his eyes and then he smiled. He said, you know, that man, he never encountered any trouble in life. He never encountered any test. So his morality was never tested. It's like you living in the ideal conditions. But if you put in a very adverse situation, will you still be able to remain moral? So morality is also a practice. It is not a bookish knowledge. You can know how to be moral, but how to be moral, to establish yourself in morality, it is a lot of fight, it is a lot of struggle, it is a lot of inner building, creating the inner integrity. So in the same way also, we cannot become spiritual just by reading books. You read the books, okay, you understand there is a supreme entity, you accept it intellectually. But at the moment of adversity, you forget all that. At the moment when you need to choose between good and bad, between morality and immorality, you forget all that. So we need to have actual experience. We need to have first-hand experience of the supreme reality. And then when you have that, then you know this is the most important. And you don't afraid to lose something of temporary nature. Actually, there is a technique of meditation. This basic technique that you are practicing with Baba Nam Kevalam, it is an emulation of that real technique. It is quite efficient, and it follows a few points of that technique. But the actual technique, it has a very detailed process how to withdraw the mind from the external objects. So to become free of those dependencies, you have to experience yourself without those bases, without those pillars. You have to experience yourself not connected with the external world, to experience yourself not connected with your body. And in that state, feel that I'm still surviving and I'm actually happier than ever. I am more free than ever. I remember one day I was walking in one location in India called Anandanagar. I was walking there. I was a very young boy of 20 years old. And I was walking, everything was miracle for me. I first time came to India. And there was one very old senior monk, practitioner. He saw me, he said, hey, come here, come here. Then he said, you come to my house, evening time, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and I will teach you something. Then I asked my Dada, I said, Dada, can I go to him? He said, yes, you go, then you tell me what happened there. So I went and said, oh, you have come, okay, good. Let's go with me. And he brought me to one special place. He has created one spot for meditation. He said, you meditate here every night. Sit and meditate for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, as long as you can. Meditate here. Even your health will become better. Even your digestion will become better. Actually, at that time, my digestion was very weak. I don't know. He maybe intuitively felt that. He said, even your digestion will be very good after this practice. I said, okay. You sit and meditate. This is a good spot for meditation. Then every night I start to come. And I would sit and meditate and meditate and meditate and meditate. Why not? One night, something happened and I felt that I'm not this body, I'm not this mind. I have nothing to do with this body. and with this mind. I never been this body, this mind. I will never be. I am always an infinite consciousness. I am always a consciousness, not infinite. That time I could not feel the infinity, complete infinity. But I could feel that I am not the body and not the mind. And I am so free. That meditation has changed very much my attitude, my dependence on the external world, on my body. So there are many experiences of this sort. Slowly, slowly, sitting quietly, we elevate our minds and we are getting the direct experience of spirituality, not the bookish experience. We are not reading about spirituality, we are practicing spirituality. And after coming in touch with that experience, there is no doubt of the existence of the Supreme Entity. Because before that you are doubting, you are thinking maybe, maybe not. Who has proven the God is there? Nobody has proven, nobody could disprove it. It is still a theory. But after you come in touch with something so powerful in your meditation, you feel definitely there is something. And that something is so beautiful that I am not afraid to lose anything of the smaller caliber. So that is the practice of Ishvara Pranidhana. And that practice, actually, the entire Jamma Niyama set is about what? It is about, first of all, making the mind introversial, finding happiness within yourself, not outside yourself, becoming less dependent on the external world, becoming self-sufficient, becoming acquiring fullness within yourself. If you are filled with love, then you can give something to the world. You will not like to take from the world, you will like to give to the world. And this kind of people we need today. Because nowadays too much taking, not much giving. And then if we will reorient ourselves, our world will change, our world will be different. It is one thing. And second thing about Jamma Niyama is to do good to others and not to harm anyone. This is like the very, very essence. Today, many traditions of yoga, I will not say traditions, I would say schools of yoga, they teach that these principles are of, anyway, they don't emphasize them. Maybe they will mention these principles in their books, but they will not talk about them in their classes. They will not really emphasize so much. Asanas, the foremost necessity. Do asanas, physical exercises, because this is what Western people can relate to. But it is a very reduced version of yoga. You are not a yogi, actually. If you are doing asanas, you are not a yogi. You can be very materialistic man, but still do the asanas. You are not a yogi. Yogi does not mean the one who is flexible. Yogi is one who is good. Yogi is the one who is happy and who is Godward oriented, oriented inside, to search happiness within. He is a yogi. So if the asanas and pranayama are promoted, but the Jamma Niyama is neglected, what will happen? The mind is still externally oriented. It means it is slowly moving towards degeneration. Because as you think, so you become. If you are constantly crude, if you are constantly thinking about the crude realities, aspire the crude objects, the mind is in touch with the crude objects all the time. So the vibration of the mind will go down. Extraversial tendency of the mind brings the mind, degrade the mind towards regress. So you start to do asanas in that condition, and still you remain with the same pattern of thinking. What will happen? the downfall will happen faster. That is why you can see in many people who are doing yoga, like there is one lady, she admitted to me, she said, you know, my husband says, if you are doing yoga, if you are such a yogi, why you are so angry? And I say, yes, he is right. Why are you so angry? Why are you so materialistic? Why are you so unhappy? She said, yeah, I know, but I said, this kind of yoga, what you are doing, is not a yoga. It's not the right type of exercise for you. You have to do something different, something that turns you within. And I say, yeah, I know, but I have invested already so much money into acquiring this certificate, that certificate. I cannot stop now. I have my students, I have to teach them. Okay, all right, this is your choice. But you have to understand that yoga is, first, it starts with Jama and Niyama. And it means that Ishvara Pranidhana is what? Ishvara Pranidhana means meditation, is getting spiritual experience. Of course, there are dharana, dhyana, samadhi, higher forms of meditation. But the basic meditation comes even before the asanas, even before the pranayama. You must make your mind God-oriented before you start doing yoga, before you start doing asanas and pranayama. Otherwise, there is all the chances for the spiritual downfall, spiritual degradation. That's why you can see people are practicing yoga, but they're still very proud, still very jealous, still very greedy, and so on. And this should not be the case. So Ishvara Pranidhana is the key point in Yama Niyama, is to change the ideals of life, change the goal of life. My goal of life was to get a good job, a good house, a good wife, and live happily and make many children. This was my goal of life. This cannot be the goal of life. The path of yoga is a subjective approach through objective adjustment. You are moving inside, finding the supreme inside, but at the same time, you adjust in the external world. You create decent life. You create the decent atmosphere outside, but it is not your goal. Your goal is different. Your goal is the supreme entity, supreme knowledge, supreme truth, supreme bliss. So this is what Ishvara Pranidhana. Completely reorient, find the spiritual goal in life, and not only intellectually, but also spiritually. It means that you are pulled towards that. It's like you want to do meditation. There is a call within you, calling you. Come, let us fulfill the goal of life. Let me today meditate. Let me come closer to the real goal of my existence. Yeah, this is what Ishvara Pranidhana is about. We have completed the course of Jama and Niyama. I hope time to time you can watch again those videos and try to get inspired about each and every principle and practice these principles. Take 1 week, practice Ahimsa. Take another week, practice Asteya. Take another week, practice Satya, practice Brahmacharya, practice Aparigraha, practice Santosha. This all actually long life practice. We practice, and finally, little by little we getting established. And more we getting established, more happier we become. And our meditation becomes more powerful, actually only due to the practice of Jama Niyama. Because meditation is, as a practice, it is extremely efficient. But the mind, the state of the mind is not adjusted with meditation. Jama Niyama helps to adjust the mind with meditation. And then I also recommend very much to read about Jama Niyama. The best book in my life I read about on that subject is called Jivan Veda, A Guide to Human Conduct. I will put a link under this video. You can go there, you can acquire this book. It is a very, very important book. It's a very beautiful book. I recommend very much. So stay with us with meditation steps. There will be more courses like biopsychology of yoga, the secrets of success, the vegetarian, the cuisine, the science of diet, and many courses will be there. So Stay with us, keep inspired, and please meditate for the well-being of all beings of this universe. Thank you very much. Namaskar.